Hello, my name is Alistair Mackay, and I have this privilege of bringing this act of worship with you to share these words with you on this, the fifth Sunday of Advent. As we share in worship this week, the implications of the coronavirus for each of us as individuals and as a community are becoming a greater strain. For many, the closure of their church congregations and the cancellation of fellowship meetings, times to share with friends. This has become a frightening reality. I hope in these few minutes I can bring some assurance and encouragement. The New Testament reading for this week is the Gospel of St. John, chapter 11, verses 1 to 45, the death of Lazarus. I'd encourage you all to read it again. Here we learn that Jesus has arrived in Bethany at the home of his friends Mary, Martha and Lazarus to discover that Lazarus has already died and indeed has been sealed in the tomb for 4 days. In spite of this, Jesus commands them, take away the stone. And then in response to Jesus' call, Lazarus rises from the dead and walks free from the tomb. The miracle here points forward to Jesus' own resurrection that will take place soon afterwards. Christ could not be confined by stone, nor would Lazarus. Now some may fear or even believe that this virus will be a death knell for many local congregations, that this will spell the end of God's people meeting together to share fellowship and worship, prayer and praise. So now, more than ever, we need to demonstrate that Christ's church cannot and will not be confined by stone. That we are a living fellowship wherever, whenever and however we choose to meet. The Old Testament lesson for today is Ezekiel chapter 37 verses 1 to 14, the Valley of Dry Bones. In this passage the prophet tells how the Spirit of God spoke to and breathed life into the bones scattered around the valley, thus gathering them together and forming them into an enormous army. In the days following Jesus' crucifixion, the Spirit breathed new life into the remaining disciples and went on to build up Christ's church on earth, following the good news of his resurrection. That same Spirit will breathe new life into our worship, our individual acts of praise and prayer, wherever we choose to meet, whenever we choose to meet. My prayer would be that our fears for life without church would be swept aside by a tide of love and hope, and that the challenge of coronavirus might present us with a fresh look at ways of being church that can break through the stone walls and reach into the world beyond. In closing, I was asked to think about some hymns that we might have sung had this been a traditional form of worship. The first hymn which came to mind was "Bind Us Together, Lord," with chords that cannot be broken. And in the midst of all that we've been going through as individuals, as families, as a community, as a world, will your anchor hold? The great brigade hymn brings real hope. So in the days to come, keep safe, keep well, and God bless.